Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1 Konoha Year 40, Ninja Academy. A live-action drill, Asakawa Seishik vs Mizuki. Let's begin. The somewhat aged teacher announced the official start of the final match of this practical lesson. Two young children stood facing each other, watched by their teacher and classmates. They were both around 6 or 7 years old. One had a full head of silver hair and a fair complexion. When he grew up, he would probably be a greasy-looking, good-for-nothing boy who wouldn't be very capable and would try to trick other children into doing bad things. The other one, with black hair and brown eyes, was a cute boy with a sunny smile. He looked like he'd grow up to be a handsome man, the really good-looking kind. At the teacher's command, Mizuki didn't move. Instead, he sneered, "Asakawa Seishik, watch me beat you to a pulp this time. You won't be able to eat. Let's see if those girls will still like you then. Oh my god, look how sick this child is. I'll definitely kick his hard with my shoe." Sometimes, being handsome is a sin. Even though I'm still young, I never expected to be targeted. Sigh, aren't the girls at school way too precocious? It's not my fault I'm handsome. Sighing inwardly, Kiyosuke didn't want to bother with this idiot. Just then, Mizuki rushed over, throwing a small punch. Kiyosuke dodged, grabbed his silver hair, pulled him down, and simultaneously raised his knee. Bang bang bang! 3 times in a row, then released Shoemu. The latter swayed, seeing stars, dizzy, and bleeding from the nose. He didn't know who he was or where he was, and just stood there with his back to Kiyosuke. At that moment, Kiyosuke kicked him, sending him flying and making him fall face first into the mud. That was it, he was done. Shoemu collapsed to the ground and burst into tears. The winner is Seishik Asakawa. Amidst Shuemu's cries and a group of girls' cheers, the teacher announced the winner. The girls cheered, "Yay! Asakawa-kun is really amazing. As expected of him. And he's so handsome. He's strong. And handsome. Just like Kakashi." The girls unanimously agreed that CG was very handsome. As for the boys. "Haha," Shoemu cried. She was so easily brought to tears. What a weakling. Poor. Utterly poor. Humph. Asakawa Seishik won again. That guy is so enviable. So what if you won? You're still no match for Kakashi. That guy became a ninja last year. Amidst the chatter, the class ended. Mizuki, her eyes red-rimmed, glared at Seishik's retreating figure, gritting her teeth. "Why do you get to be so popular? I was the first. I was the most popular first. What are you and Kakashi compared to me? Damn it, my nose hurts so much. Asakawa Seishik, I'll make you pay for offending me." Phew. Taking a deep breath, Kiyosuke stood on the gently flowing water with his eyes closed, trying his best to control his chakras so that he could stand on the water and not fall in. With his current chakra levels, as long as he controls them well, he won't fall down anytime soon. Let me give it a try. As for hand seals. He began forming hand seals, channeling his chakra, and uttered a low shout, "Wind release, great breakthrough." He opened his mouth and exhaled a gust of wind, blowing up the sand and stones on the other side of the river, and even the trees swayed back and forth. His head was spinning, he was a little short of oxygen, and his chakra was a bit low. He could probably use the C-rank ninjutsu wind release, great breakthrough a dozen times in a row before his chakra was close to its limit. Then let's test your abilities. He clenched his fist, and a blazing flame suddenly ignited on it. His face showed no sign of pain. This flame was not formed from chakra, but rather from another power that did not belong to this world. Devil Fruit. Logia-type Flame Fruit. These are abilities that Kiyosuke acquired when he transmigrated. He already possessed these abilities when he gained consciousness, but he needed to develop them from scratch. Because there are no substances in this world that can counteract devil fruits, even if he falls into the water, he won't become a landlubber, he can swim however he wants, backstroke, butterfly, freestyle. He clenched his fist and threw a punch at the river. Boom! Flames collided with the flowing water, the river exploded, and water droplets fell, soaking the clothes on their bodies. Its destructive power is far less than Ace's fire fist. It seems that in order to adapt to this world, using the flame fruit consumes his chakra, but not as much as ninjutsu. Furthermore, due to the devil fruit, the amount of chakra in his body has increased more than his peers, even surpassing some chunin. After looking around and confirming that no one was around, flames suddenly erupted from his body, making him look like a torch, emitting heat. Once his clothes were dry, the flames disappeared. The Second Shinobi World War has just ended, and the third is just a few years away. We must accumulate strength as soon as possible so that we won't be killed. As ninjas, we will definitely go to the battlefield, and we must have the ability to survive on the battlefield. Elementalization is indeed a divine technique similar to Kamui's hollowification, but in prolonged battles, when chakra is insufficient, the body cannot be elementalized. Even with the enhancement of the devil fruit's physical constitution, chakra remains a weakness. A person dies when they are killed. It's undoubtedly nonsense, but it's also true. If you don't want to go to the battlefield, then don't be a ninja. But we've already given you the cheat codes, it would be unreasonable not to take them. He has a cheat code and lives a peaceful life, but he's not some ordinary office worker with a hand fetish who seeks a peaceful life. The main focus should be on developing the devil fruit's abilities. Ninjutsu can wait, I don't have any good ninjutsu anyway, and it can also indirectly help me train my chakra. While training in devil fruit abilities, he also depletes his chakra reserves. After recovering, his chakra reserves increase, similar to those in One Piece. If someone survives a battle, their strength increases. The devil fruit has modified his body, making him more like the physique of people in the One Piece world. Scion. Thinking this, he pointed his finger at the water and exclaimed, "A musket." Sparks flew from fingertips as fast as shooting stars, quickly disappearing into the water, leaving only the hissing sound of the flames being extinguished. Just as he lowered his hand and was preparing to test his next move, he heard someone say, "Big brother, that BD Asakawa Seishik usually trains around here. He should be here. You have to help me teach him a lesson." That voice sounds familiar. And who wants to lecture me? Did I offend anyone? Chapter 2. He, Asakawa Seishik, has always been kind to everyone and never offends anyone. Why would someone come here today wanting to teach me a lesson? Konoha is a harmonious and loving family, its members never fight amongst themselves. Are you sure that kid is here, Shui Mu? I sacrificed my cultivation time to come and teach that brat who bullied you a lesson. Don't make me come all this way for nothing. Another voice came from behind, sounding quite young. It was obvious that the owner of the voice was also a young child. From what he said, Kiyosuke realized who had come to cause trouble. It was Mizuki. This guy made him cry today, so he sent his older kid to cause trouble? This is really... However, not wanting to cause trouble, he walked to the shore, preparing to run away. Just then, two white-haired figures, one large and one small, emerged from the bushes. Tisk! What concerned him most was the older child, because the child was wearing a Konoha headband, clearly indicating that he was a ninja who had graduated and started taking on missions. The person with a face somewhat similar to Mizuki must be his older brother or something, and the person next to him is naturally Mizuki. That kid has this smug, petty smug look on his face. Upon seeing Seishik, he immediately said, "Asakawa Seishik, I've been looking for you for ages. This is my older brother, Kaneki. He's an excellent genin, and he'll be a chunin soon. My brother's here to avenge me today. Kiyosuk said helplessly, seriously? I just made you cry, and you're already this petty. Isn't your older brother particularly good at shifting blame? Why not shift the blame to the world, or even to Tokiomi himself? On one side, Mizuki's older brother, Kaneki, snorted, so you're the one who bullied my little brother? You little brat, you're asking for a beating. Wow! You shameless! A genin is bullying a child. Humph! You were only able to defeat me today because I had a stomachache. If it weren't for my stomach hurting, my older brother wouldn't have needed to lift a finger. How can you have the nerve? No wonder he's the kind of man who can instigate the crown prince to do bad things in the future. He's already showing the talent to distort the truth at such a young age. With a little training, he might just become a master of lies. You can't beat me and you're using this excuse? Seriously, enough already. If you're going to get beaten, stand up straight. You can't even handle losing? And you call yourself a ninja? You. Shui Mu was about to retort when his older brother Jin Mu stopped him, saying, all right, stop arguing. Kid, if my brother beats you up, this matter is over. You have two choices, either my brother beats you up, or I beat you up. You choose. Kiyosuk picked at his ear and said, I choose option 3. What? I just want to beat you both up. Arrogant. Kaneki was furious. This brat, a student at the Ninja Academy, dared to spout nonsense about beating him up. It seemed he was going to teach him a lesson. I think you're asking for trouble. Do you think you're that brat Kakashi? He's clearly a brat, yet he's already a chunin. His talent drives him insane with jealousy. Now this brat is trying to provoke him, he's asking for death. Seeing his older brother become popular, Shui Mu took a few steps back and hid behind a tree. He thought, I hope my older brother beats my face to a pulp, then we'll see if I'm still popular. Tisk. Kiyosuk retreated to the riverbank, where Kaneki had already charged forward. Compared to his brother's mindless attacks, Kaneki seemed much more experienced. His legs were longer than his arms, and he kicked out, but missed and was dodged, landing in empty space. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Kiyosuk kicked Kaneki in the back of the knee, forcing him to kneel down, then turned and followed up with a spinning kick that almost made Kaneki fall into the water. You brat! Kaneki reached out to grab him, but was instead kicked in the face, causing him to fall into the water with a splash. Kiyosuk looked at Mizuki and said, you're next. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You can't possibly beat my older brother. Shui Mu's young heart was deeply wounded. How could this guy possibly defeat her brother? And, bro, aren't you a ninja? Why did you get beaten by this guy? He's a student just like me. People's physical constitutions can't be generalized. You can only be extremely angry when you're extremely angry. But I'm different, I'll become stronger. Mizuki, is your older brother really a ninja? You brat! What are you so smug about? Kaneki climbed out of the river and charged forward without thinking twice. This time, he was much faster than before. He threw a punch, but it was caught by a hand smaller than his own. Then, he felt the other person's hand burning hot, as if he had put his fist into a fire. Kiyosuk stretched out his other hand, and sparks flew from his fingertips, instantly igniting Kaneki's trousers. Big brother, big brother! Your pants are on fire! Hot! 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 Kaneki abruptly withdrew his scalded and blistered hand and jumped into the water again. Watch me, I won't let you trick me this time, you brat! Standing in the water, Kaneki began rapidly forming hand seals, the water around him gathering. The last seal was completed, water release, wave. The river water surged up, forming a column of water that rushed towards Kingja. To avoid attracting attention, Kiyosuke pretended to form hand seals and then exhaled a flame. Fire release, flame burst. Boom. When a jet of cold water collides with a jet of scorching heat, it eventually forms water vapor. For a moment, white steam obscured their vision. Jinmu immediately climbed out of the water, and Mizuki's voice rang out, Big brother, where are you? I'm here, I'm fine. Suddenly, he heard his own voice and immediately said, Shuemu, don't believe it, I'm over here. Big brother, ah! Hearing his younger brother's scream, Kaneki rushed towards the direction of the sound. As he appeared, he suddenly felt a burning sensation. Turning around, he saw a flaming fist looming large in front of him. Fire fist! He was punched in the chest and slammed into a tree. He felt as if his internal organs had been displaced, and he was in excruciating pain. He also had burns on some parts of his body and looked utterly wretched. With one foot on his shoulder, Seishik walked over, one hand holding his younger brother Mizuki, who had already wet his pants, and asked with a smile, I have a question for you, what is 1000-7? Kaneki said, trembling, it equals 997. You're good at math. He kicked Kaneki in the face, knocking him unconscious. He tossed Shuemu aside, a bright smile spreading across his face. I've always wanted to see this expression on your face, this look of fear towards me. How about it? Will you dare send anyone to cause me trouble again? No, I won't do it again. No. Don't hit me. Shuemu yelled, but still got kicked again. Chapter 3. Looking at the two brothers who had fallen into a coma, Kiyosuke clapped his hands, glanced at Mizuki's face, scoffed, grabbed his hair, and flames erupted, burning his silver hair into a bird's nest. He chuckled, then suddenly felt a chill creep over him. Hiss, I have a bad feeling about this. I'm outta here. The two brothers left it there were no dangerous wild animals nearby, so they wouldn't die. Their intuition told them that if they didn't leave soon, they would definitely run into trouble. Just then, a rustling sound came from the grass. Upon closer inspection, it was a small white snake. It was just a snake, but it gave me quite a fright. Wait, a snake? Young man, your body is very unscientific. The magnetic voice, filled with keen interest, sent shivers down Kiyosuke's spine. Feeling uncomfortable, he stiffened and turned around, only to be met with a purple yukata. Well, there's nothing I can do about being short. He looked up and saw a pale face with golden vertical pupils staring at him, eyes full of curiosity about the brat before him. Kiyosuke felt as if he were being watched by a snake ready to pounce on its prey. Seeing that face, those eyes, and those blue-green jade earrings, it goes without saying who this person is. The legendary Sunin, Orochimaru, the cold-hearted one. Kiyosuke. Orochimaru. Gender, currently male, hobbies, maybe female. He is a seeker of truth who has mastered core technologies, a man unbound by worldly conventions. Still unconventional and ruthless, they enjoy abducting children and conducting various illegal experiments. I'm sure I was just seen. That look in my eyes was exactly the same as the look I give those pornographic pictures. As one of the future leaves of Konoha, he felt he should keep his distance from this person. But I'm afraid he won't agree. The small white snake had just crawled into Orochimaru's trouser leg. Orochimaru licked his lips and said, I never expected that going out for a walk, looking for inspiration, would lead me to discover something so interesting. Your name. He went out for a walk and heard the sounds of fighting, so he came over to take a look. Unexpectedly, he witnessed Kiyosuke using his ability to teach Kaneki a lesson. Although there was water vapor, he could see it clearly. The fact that he could use fire abilities without forming hand seals made him very interested. Asakawa Seishik. Facing him, Kiyosuke felt immense pressure. Asakawa, the son of Asakawa Taiga and Asakawa Keiko. Orochimaru remembered the names of these two people. During the Second Shinobi World War, Asakawa Taiga, a special jonin, sacrificed himself to complete a mission. Not long after, on the same day, his wife's medical unit was also attacked, resulting in the deaths of many people, including Asakawa Taiga's wife. The couple died on the same day, leaving behind a 3 or 4-year-old son. He personally retrieved their bodies. His gaze softened as he looked at Kiyosuke, as if he saw a reflection of himself as a child. However, Kiyosuke was far stronger than he had been as a child. "Do you know my parents? We've met a few times." Orochimaru didn't want to dwell on the topic any longer, and said, "Seishik-kun, your ability is quite special. Could you demonstrate it to me again?" "Oh no, this person has their eye on me." But facing Orochimaru, Seishik had no choice but to steel himself and set his palms ablaze. "No hand seals required. Unnecessary. Your family's bloodline limit." But as soon as he said it, he refuted the theory. If Kiyosuke's father also possessed it, he wouldn't have died so easily on the battlefield. Moreover, in Konoha, bloodline limits only include the Sharingan and Byakugan, as well as the Kurama clan's manipulation of the 5 senses and the Gekko clan's transcendent release. However, the latter two families had long since declined and become insignificant minor families. Could it be that this child's ancestors possessed a special bloodline limit? Because the span was too long, it never awakened and declined, while this child awakened it by accident. "What is a bloodline limit?" Kiyosuke asked innocently. Orochimaru briefly explained what a bloodline limit was, then, watching him extinguish the flames on his hands, asked, "Don't you feel hot?" Generally speaking, the power of a technique is proportional to its risk. The more powerful the ninjutsu, the greater the risk, and the more likely it is to be listed as a forbidden technique, or the more likely it is to consume a large amount of chakra. However, judging from the child's appearance, he doesn't seem to have been burned or had excessive chakra consumption at all. "I don't think so." "When did you acquire this ability?" Kiyosuke looked at Orochimaru cautiously and said weakly, "Dad, after Mom and Dad passed away." Orochimaru noticed the fear and wariness in his eyes, but he ignored it, assuming it was just a child being afraid of him. He didn't care, it was normal, he was used to it, especially since it was a child who had lost his parents at a young age. It was normal for him to be wary and fearful, since he was a stranger to the child. Does the activation of special abilities occur due to emotional fluctuations? Will Konoha gain a new bloodline limit? Still unsure of Kiyosuke's abilities, he said, "Kiyosuke-kun, would you be interested in visiting my place? My house is quite large, with lots of interesting little toys. You can even sleep there when you're tired of playing." He looked like a creepy old man trying to abduct elementary school students. Kiyosuke felt that if he went, he would be met with a cold operating table and a sharp scalpel. Is this about dissecting oneself? Snake? No. Snake? No, my parents told me not to go to strangers' houses. Goodbye, uncle. As he spoke, he turned to run away, but unfortunately, just as he turned around, several snakes crawled out of Orochimaru's sleeve and bound him. The cold, serpentine body bound him tightly, and the thick snake flicked its tongue at him. "Oh no!" Orochimaru chuckled and said, "Seishik-kun, you're certainly wary. But I won't do anything to you, I'm just curious about your ability. Come with me." "Snake? No. Snake. Help. Someone is abducting underage children. Help." Kiyosuke shouted at the top of his lungs. No need to shout. This is indeed a good place for cultivation. Not many people come here, which is why I like to take walks here. Even if you shout at the top of your lungs, no one will come. Break your throat. Break your throat. Orochimaru. Is this child really not intellectually challenged? To avoid arousing Kiyosuke's suspicion, Orochimaru released the snake coiled around him and said, Kyosuke-kun, I am Orochimaru, the disciple of the third Hokage. You don't need to worry about what I might do to you. I just want to find out the source of your power, right? I won't hurt you. And judging from your sneaky behavior, you're trying to hide this power, aren't you? Once I figure it out, you can use this power openly in the village. How about it? Want to come with me? He reached out his hand to Kyosuke, eagerly anticipating what choice the boy would make. Chapter 4. Looking at Orochimaru's pale hand, Sishik fell silent. Following Orochimaru now will definitely bring many benefits, and this ability can be used reasonably later. The power of devil fruits is irrational. He has been hiding it all this time because he is afraid of being discovered by the village, and then he would lie on the operating table, waiting for some experimental personnel to dissect him and learn the secrets of his body. Orochimaru is a very dangerous person, but if I really get on his good side, I will be safe until he defects from the village. At that time, as long as I make a name for myself on the battlefield and achieve military exploits, I can rest easy. High risk, high reward. He gritted his teeth, reached out his hand, and grasped the cold, serpentine hand in his, saying, I don't want to be seen as a monster by the villagers, so, Lord Orochimaru, please help me. You made the right choice, Sishik-kun. Come with me. He let go of her hand and led the way. On the way, Orochimaru asked about their abilities, and Sishik answered truthfully. However, he didn't mention that it was a devil fruit, because even if he did, he wouldn't know what it was. Upon hearing that he could transform into an elemental form, Orochimaru's eyes lit up. Before even reaching his base, he eagerly exclaimed, Quick, let me see your flame transformation. Why don't you call it cremation? Unsure if this was the right choice, I sighed inwardly and said, That's fine. Is it okay? Seeing that his body hadn't changed, Orochimaru understood, took out a kunai, and cut a gash in Sishik's arm. Instead of blood, flames flowed. Doesn't it hurt? No pain. Can I control it freely? Yes, there's no elementalization, my body is just a normal body. I see. Without hesitation, he chopped off one of Kyosuke's hands. The arm fell to the ground, turning into flames and dissipating into the air. At the severed arm, flames raged, and as the flames burned, the severed arm regrew, unaffected by anything. Only Kyosuke's face turned pale. Clearly, this move had a significant impact on his chakra. The ability to transform one's body into flames at will, and the capacity for regeneration, is very similar to the water transformation technique of the Hojiki clan in Kirigakure. The secret technique of hydration. Orochimaru explained, it's a secret ninjutsu passed down through generations of the Hojiki clan, which allows the body to become liquid, making it immune to physical attacks. However, its weakness is lightning release. Conversely, your weakness should be water release, provided your body is in flame form. There's no such thing as fire that's immune to water. You're wrong. Fire and water don't have a clear-cut power dynamic. Which is stronger depends on quantity and temperature. He gave an example, a fist-sized flame will be easily extinguished by a bucket of water, but it will be evaporated by a massive fireball. It's simply a matter of quantity and temperature. Using fire release should be much more effective for you. No, as long as you have enough chakra, you could potentially use any type of fire release. Thinking of this, he said, you have great potential. I'm increasingly eager to figure out the secrets of your body, you're too slow. As he spoke, he grabbed Kyosuke by the collar, and in a flash, the scenery before their eyes blurred, and in the blink of an eye, the two of them arrived in front of a very simple-looking wooden house. Pushing open the door, a chilling feeling rushed out, leading Kyosuke into one of his unimportant laboratories. Kyosuke glanced at the shelves and saw a lot of bottles and jars, all containing strange things soaking in unknown liquids. Some were snakes, and some were other creatures. My arm hurts, and I see Orochimaru has picked up a syringe and started drawing blood. Wow, is this even hygienic? Have you been using this to smoke anything weird? Orochimaru gave him a cotton swab and told him to press it himself to collect a blood sample from Sishuk. He immediately took a small amount and placed it under a microscope. After observing for a while, it was found that there was no difference between the blood and that of other people. However, studying this wouldn't yield any particularly special information in the short term, so they shifted their focus to Kiyosuke, only to find him examining the snake he had been keeping in a jar. What? Are you interested in these? Kiyosuke nodded and said, Yes, Lord Orochimaru, is this snake soaked in sake? No, this is a special solution to prevent decay. This snake is a research subject. Oh, then never mind. Orochimaru? What's with that listless look on your face? Why does the snake have to be soaked in alcohol? Do you think it's medicinal wine? And that's not how you make medicinal wine. Kiyosuke-kun, your focus is quite peculiar. I'd like to test your abilities. Come with me. Oh. He was prepared to be used as a guinea pig. As long as Orochimaru's thirst for knowledge was satisfied, there should be benefits. Upon arriving in the backyard, Orochimaru said, Come, use your power on me. Don't hold back. Kiyosuke hesitated and said, But complete liberation would be very troublesome. You don't need to worry about anything. Orochimaru was full of confidence. Even though the ability was special, he could easily handle it with his strength. Here it comes, Lord Orochimaru. Be careful, Fire Fist. In an instant, his arm transformed into elemental form, swelling in the wind to become a flaming arm the size of an 8 immortal table, and he threw a punch at Orochimaru. A scorching blast of air rushed towards him. Orochimaru quickly estimated the temperature. It was significantly higher than the fireball jutsu, and it also seemed to have an impact force. Earth Release, Earth Flow Wall. As a disciple of the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, he was adept at ninjutsu. An earthen wall rose up, blocking his path. With a loud boom, the earthen wall blocked the fiery fist, but it was almost completely destroyed. Musketeers. Sparks flew out like bullets, creating a barrage of attacks. He formed a hand seal with incredible speed, and as he opened his palm, a gust of wind blew out, extinguishing the muzzle flash of the musket, but also sending some sparks flying. These sparks landed on the wooden house and set it ablaze. Orochimaru. He extinguished the fire. He felt this kid was a bit of a troublemaker, but for the sake of the experiment, he had to continue. Let's continue. Kajiro. Kiyosuke opened his hand, and a beam of fire shot out from his palm, attacking again. This time, instead of using wind release, he used shadow clone jutsu to receive the attack. The clone was destroyed, and the pain and memories of that moment were transmitted to the main body, allowing him to understand Kiyosuke's attack. Its temperature was higher than that of a regular fire jutsu. The power of that attack was comparable to a B-rank fire jutsu. With attacks that could be unleashed without hand seals and a body capable of transforming into flames, he grew increasingly curious about Kiyosuke. Chapter 5. That's all. Orochimaru looked at Sishuk and asked. That's all. That's all the abilities I've developed, Kiyosuke said. You haven't developed enough methods yet. You can develop more, but you're still young, and you'll have plenty of time later, Orochimaru said. Oh. I've got an idea. Even if your entire body is blown to pieces in your elemental form, can you still regenerate? What tactic are you thinking of? That's terrifying. Kiyosuke said, Yes, but it requires a lot of chakra to recover. That's fine. Wait until you have enough chakra, then gather a large amount of chakra on your body's surface, approach the enemy, and then detonate it. Kiyosuke. Are you sure you're not some alien in a suit who came from the M78 Nebula? Isn't this an ultra bomb? Taro's strongest single-target finishing move involves gathering energy in his body, then charging at the enemy, embracing them, and perishing together. A massive explosion ensues, after which Taro is revived using the regenerative abilities of his Ultra Heart. Good heavens, this is the Naruto version of the Ultra Bomb. As expected of Orochimaru, he easily came up with a move I never imagined. Of course, this is only used as a last resort. You can try it later. For now, focus on refining your chakra and building a solid foundation, Orochimaru advised. He wasn't very suitable to be a teacher, but he did have the ability to discover someone's potential. Oh. He didn't care about the perfunctory answer and asked, "What grade are you in this year?" "Second year, graduating next year." The Konoha Ninja Academy had a 3-year academic year during the war. When this class started school, the war was not yet completely over, so the 3-year system was continued to replenish the resources lost during the war. Okay, keep studying. Come here every day after school. Also, I'll teach you a ninjutsu. Watch carefully and learn well. This ninjutsu is the shadow clone technique. Pay attention. Although this ninjutsu is only B rank, it's very simple. First, form the hand seals, then allocate your chakra appropriately. Orochimaru was very meticulous in his teaching. Whenever Sishik asked a question he didn't understand, Orochimaru would provide an answer. Bang! An identical physical clone appeared beside me, but it was weak and limp. It was clearly a failure. Your chakra isn't allocated correctly. Do it like this, then like this, and then like this again. Under Orochimaru's guidance, Kiyosuke did this and that, carefully adjusting the chakra ratio, and this time he succeeded in creating the shadow clone technique. It seems you have quite a talent. Come often in the future. Here, take this little guy. You can use it to contact me if you need anything. The little white snake that had been there earlier emerged from his sleeve, flicking its scarlet tongue at Kiyosuke. Can I get another one? No, I only have snakes here. Before he could refuse, Orochimaru placed the little white snake into his hand. The snake coiled around his wrist several times, forming a snake-shaped bracelet, but it was alive, with smooth, cool scales that felt very comfortable. Yes, Lord Orochimaru, what does it eat? Mice, sparrows, eggs are fine too. All right, go on your way, I still have experiments to do. He shooed Kiyosuke away, looking quite disgusted with him. Use it and throw it away. Muttering to himself as he left, Orochimaru returned to his laboratory to continue researching the mysteries of Kiyosuke's body. However, after several days of tireless experiments, all he could conclude was that the child had a special constitution, and nothing more. Did I go in the wrong direction with my experiment? Human beings have an insatiable thirst for knowledge, but for now, there's no clue how to approach it. After a short rest, he immediately went to the Hokage building, found the third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, and reported Sishik's abilities. Orochimaru's heart is still with Konoha. After satisfying his initial research desires, he still needs to report this matter. This is so that Sishik can use that ability openly. After all, it was promised at the time, and not doing so would be breaking the agreement, which is not in line with his behavior. Since we've made a promise, we must fulfill it. Hiruzen Sarutobi asked in surprise, "You mean Asuma's classmate possesses a special bloodline limit?" Yes, his name is Asakawa Sishik. His technique is similar to the water transformation secret technique of the Hojiki clan in Kirigakure, yet different. After giving a brief explanation, Hiruzen Sarutobi stood up and said, "Go check the Asakawa family's files." After the founding of Konoha, many ninja clans donated numerous scrolls. These scrolls mostly recorded some history from the Warring States period, the abilities of some clans, and some popular ninjutsu. They contributed a lot of intelligence in the early days of Konoha's construction and during the war, and they can still make some contributions to the village now. However, after searching for most of the day, the master and apprentice only found out that the Asakawa family was skilled in fire-style techniques, but there was no record of any special bloodline limit. Their fire-style techniques were nothing compared to those of the Uchiha and Sarutobi clans. When they joined Konoha, there were only a handful of them, but after 2 shinobi world wars, only Sishik remained. Could it be because it's been too long, and the Asakawa family has been in decline for too long? A kid couldn't possibly create a bloodline limit. Orochimaru speculated. Bloodline limits cannot be created simply by having talent. Taking my teacher as an example, he possessed 5 types of chakra and was proficient in the transformations of these attributes, yet he still hadn't created his own unique bloodline limit. The talent and skill required were far too high to be summarized in a few words. Asakawa Sishik was simply talented, but not the kind of genius who could create his own bloodline limit. That's why Orochimaru attributed this unique ability to someone in Sishik's ancestry who had developed a unique bloodline limit. However, as time went on, fewer and fewer people in the clan had the talent to awaken a bloodline limit, and eventually, the clan became a small family that joined Konoha. Just like the Kurama clan in Konoha now, they were once a prestigious clan in Konoha, possessing power on par with the Uchiha clan. However, as the war depleted their clan members, many of the children born into the clan did not awaken the clan's bloodline limit, and they have declined, no longer possessing their former glory. The Gecko clan, which possesses the transparent release, is in the same situation. It seems so. Perhaps the death of their parents, coupled with intense emotional distress, awakened a long-dormant ability within their clan? With proper nurturing, Konoha might have a new bloodline limit in the future. Hiruzen Sarutobi demonstrates Kiyosuk's value to Konoha, given that bloodline limits are rare even in Konoha. Chapter 6. Orochimaru, you've never led a subordinate before, have you? Hiruzen Sarutobi asked, puffing on his pipe. Hearing this, Orochimaru said, I have no intention of taking a brat on missions, that would just be a waste of time. Kiyosuk-kun's talent is alright, much better than Jiraiya's, but aside from his bloodline limit, there's nothing about him that really impresses me. He knew exactly what the old man was up to, but he didn't want to lead the team, it was a waste of time. He'd rather use that time to figure out what Asakawa Sishik's abilities were all about. Changing the subject, she added, however, it's fine to occasionally guide his cultivation. Then let's leave it at that. You should develop his potential. This was originally supposed to be Jiraiya's job, since he's more skilled in fire release, but he's currently in the land of rain, saying he needs to properly train his 3 disciples. Hiruzen Sarutobi had a headache. Of his 3 disciples, Jiraiya was teaching students in the land of rain, Tsunade had developed hemophobia due to the death of her lover, and her career as a medical ninja was essentially over, she had long since left the village. As for Orochimaru, frankly, spending all his time in the laboratory, it was quite remarkable that he had developed an interest in Sishik. That's settled then. I'll take these files with me and study them. He picked up the files from the table and left without looking back. Hiruzen Sarutobi puffed on his pipe for a while and said, the ability to transform into flames, allowing me to use fire release ninjutsu without hand seals, is indeed convenient. With that, he left the archives, rewrote Kyoshi's file, and sealed it away. No one was allowed to look at it without his order. The matter of bloodline limits will not be revealed for the time being, until then, the teaching of the will of fire must be carried out. Okay, I'll go to the school classroom tomorrow. Having mastered the shadow clone technique, Sishik began experimenting with his Ultraman, his flame bomb. A shadow clone was created, and the experiment began. Flames erupted from the shadow clone's body, raising the heat to its maximum. Even if it couldn't explode, it could still burn off a layer of the opponent's skin. The energy within the body is compressed, then rushes towards a tree, tightly hugs the trunk, and then releases all the energy in the body at once. Boom! A deafening explosion suddenly occurred, sending wood chips flying everywhere. Countless pebbles were blasted away like bullets by the shockwave, punching several holes in his body. Flames then filled the holes. Cough cough. Ouch! Shadow clones are great in every way, except they require sharing pain, which is a problem. The final sensation of the shadow clones washed over me. The feeling of my body being torn apart was truly unbearable. I was supposed to transform into elemental form, but I didn't have enough chakra, so I could only temporarily make the shadow clones disappear. That tearing sensation was something that most people couldn't easily endure. As the smoke cleared, he looked at the tree, now reduced to a small, charred stump, and the surrounding mess. He knew the fire bomb was complete, but using shadow clones would result in a clone explosion. Even without the Ultra Heart, I still have a way to recreate this move. I really admire Orochimaru's imagination. He came up with techniques that even he himself hadn't thought of so easily. Yeah, increase the power. Anyway, I'm not afraid of dying. The shadow clone explosion uses chakra he has concocted. Theoretically, if he were to use this technique himself, the destructive power would be even greater. He created another shadow clone, distributing even more chakra. This time, he directly distributed half of the remaining chakra in his body. The shadow clone explosion uses shadow clones as bait to perish together with the enemy, while the flame bomb involves using a large amount of chakra to kill a ninja and then using the ability of elemental transformation to regenerate. The advantage of shadow clone explosion is that you don't have to do anything yourself, and the power is considerable. The disadvantage is that the shadow clones will easily die from the attack, and it cannot grab the target the fastest. After all, this move requires you to grab the enemy. The fire bomb is launched by his main body, which has activated elemental transformation, making him immune to physical attacks. As long as he doesn't use water escape techniques, he'll be completely unharmed. This also has a prerequisite: the opponent hasn't used a substitution jutsu or a clone. Otherwise, if you go through all the trouble of capturing someone, only to find out it was a substitute, that would be a real problem. A stand-in fooled so much, it's a complete rip-off. The shadow clone burst into flames and this time clung to a rock about the size of a house. Detonate! Boom! The explosion was deafening, it could be heard throughout half of Konoha. The shockwave sent countless rocks flying, and he was thrown a great distance away, only coming to a stop after crashing into a tree. His body was dazed and confused from the impact, and he was in excruciating pain all over. If he hadn't transformed into an elemental form, allowing the rebel to pass through his body, that blow would have killed him. He ran to the site of the explosion and found a large crater, 20 or 30 meters in diameter, with broken trees around it and flames burning fiercely on top. Yes, it deals additional magical damage. Great! It worked! Yay! This destructive power is exactly what he wanted. Why bother with fancy ninjutsu? Just blow it up directly, isn't that better? At this moment, several people wearing animal masks and carrying long knives appeared beside him. What are you doing? The person asking the question spoke in a cold and indifferent voice, devoid of any emotion. Experimental ninjutsu. Kiyosuke swallowed hard, raising his hands. This was Konoha's Anbu, or perhaps the route founded by that old scoundrel Danzo. It's best to tell this group the truth. The Anbu members were drawn here because of the explosion. Such a large explosion in Konoha couldn't be ignored. Before long, a group of men with black, spiky hair, wearing green vests and bearing the Konoha police force insignia on their arms, arrived and surrounded the area. The leader, a young man with bloodshot eyes, asked, "What happened here?" Captain of the Konoha police force, Uchiha Fugaku. The member of the Secret Service said, "We're investigating too. What we can confirm now is that the explosion was done by this brat." "Oh wow! We're doomed." Even Urju's father was lured over. The Konoha police force, composed entirely of members of the Uchiha clan, is responsible for maintaining order in the village, and the explosion naturally drew them there. Kid? Are you kidding me? This brat could cause such destruction. One of the Uchiha clan members scoffed, refusing to believe that Kiyosuke could cause so much damage. The members of the Secret Service said, "There's only this one brat here, and he's confessed to doing it. Don't be ridiculous. Is this how the Anbu handles things? Do you really believe this brat's one-sided story? Or am I going to use my Sharingan to make him tell the whole story?" The Uchiha clan member spoke arrogantly. Sishik took a step back and said to the Anbu, "I am Orochimaru sensei's disciple, I was merely teaching ninjutsu to my experimental teacher. Now that things have come to this, all we can do is use someone else's coat as a cover." Chapter 7. Upon hearing this, everyone present immediately fell silent. "You claim to be Lord Orochimaru's disciple? Who would believe that?" The Uchiha clansmen continued to shout. Fugaku Uchiha roared, "Enough, IWA, shut up! Team leader! Shut up!" "Yes." Fugaku scrutinized Kiyosuke, observing him with his Sharingan. He noticed the dense fire-style chakra and asked, "You claim to be Orochimaru's disciple. What proof do you have?" Kiyosuke raised his hand, revealing the small white snake on his wrist, and said, "This snake was a gift from Orochimaru sensei." The little white snake raised its head, sensing the complex scents in the air, and flicked its tongue. "It is indeed Lord Orochimaru's summoning beast." Orochimaru was the only one in Konoha who played with snakes. These white snakes had little offensive capability, but he used them to transmit intelligence during wartime. As the strongest member of the Uchiha clan, Fugaku had seen these white snakes before. "It's just a snake, it doesn't necessarily mean the child in front of him is Orochimaru's disciple. But at least it shows that they have a close relationship. Otherwise, this white snake wouldn't be in his hands." The ANBU members recognized him and said, "However, this matter still needs to be reported. Furthermore, we haven't heard that Lord Orochimaru has taken on a disciple or is accompanying us on this trip. Then I'll report it. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. I'll be more careful next time." "Will you have a next time? Apologize sincerely, but don't do it again next time." Everyone's lips twitched, they felt helpless. "Let's go." Just as the Anbu were about to take Kiyosuke away, Fugaku's men spoke up, "Wait. You Anbu are meddling too much. This is the jurisdiction of the Konoha police force. This brat should be taken away by us. His ninjutsu has already endangered the safety of Konoha, and he should be taken away by our Anbu. As the Hokage's direct subordinate force, the Anbu will not hesitate to take action against the Uchiha clan. I think it's better if I take this kid with me." His voice was as husky as ever, deep and magnetic. "Orochimaru-sama! Orochimaru-sama!" The two groups greeted Orochimaru. As a disciple of the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, and one of the legendary Sunin, he was renowned for his military exploits and was considered by many in Konoha to be the only suitable candidate to succeed him as Hokage. Moreover, his strength was worthy of their respect. Orochimaru emerged from the shadows and said, "I'm sorry to have troubled you all. This brat is mine, I'll take him away myself." He rushed over as soon as he heard the explosion. It now appears to be Kiyosuke's doing. He turned his head and glanced at the huge crater Kiyosuke had created, asking, "What kind of ninjutsu did you use to turn this place upside down?" Kiyosuke replied, "It's what you mentioned before. I tried training it today, but because I didn't have enough chakra, I chose to use Shadow Clone Jutsu instead. I innovated on your idea and divided it into 2 moves." Orochimaru's eyes lit up, and he said, "Not bad." He turned to look at Fugaku and the Anbu members. "This child is a bit reckless, but he's just training in ninjutsu, there's no need to take him back." "Yes." After he finished speaking, the group of people from the Dark Division vanished in a flash. As for the Konoha police force, Fugaku said, then we'll take our leave too, Lord Orochimaru. Thank you for your trouble, Mr. Fugaku. Oh, and congratulations on your marriage. I dare not accept such praise, Fugaku said neither servilely nor arrogantly, and led his men away. Even though Orochimaru has arrived, he won't continue the entanglement, as that might offend him. He shouldn't create another powerful enemy for the Uchiha clan, who are already surrounded by enemies. Looking at the mess around him, Orochimaru said, use that ninjutsu on me again. Ah, oh. Boom. Another explosion rang out. The two waved to disperse the dust. Orochimaru, receiving memories from his shadow clone, said, the power is enough to severely injure an unprepared jonin. If they had been on guard, your shadow clone wouldn't have survived. In other words, this move can only be used by surprise. Of course, if the user is the actual target, the outcome will be different. Understood. Alright, go back and continue experimenting with your abilities. Yes. Good, I didn't hear about my story about using tiger skin to make a coat. In the laboratory, Orochimaru took out a piece of paper and handed it to Sishuk. What are you doing? Orochimaru explained, this is a chakra test strip, it can determine the nature of your chakra. I'll give it a try. He was also eager to know what the nature of his chakra was. Under Orochimaru's guidance, he injected chakra into the chakra test strip in his hand. Then, half of the chakra test strip was cut in half, and the other half was burned to ashes. Born with wind and fire attributes? That's good. Suddenly, an idea struck him, and he murmured, could it be that the combination of two attributes gives him this special bloodline limit? Wind and fire not only create scorching release, but also this special bloodline limit? I should have tested his chakras sooner. Seeing Orochimaru start muttering to himself, Sishuk knew, he's at it again. No wonder he's someone who can master core technologies, his research spirit alone is admirable. He had seen Orochimaru like this many times in the past 6 months, and every time he saw him like this, he felt sorry for him because the answer was wrong from the beginning, and no matter how he deduced the steps, he could never get it right. But for the sake of his own life, he chose not to continue speaking, he was afraid of being beaten to death. Come over here to conduct the experiment. Oh. He followed Orochimaru around like a puppy, silently watching as Orochimaru got stuck in a dead end. In the days leading up to his graduation exams, Sishuk didn't go to school at all, always taking leave. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought he had dropped out, but in reality, he was still being experimented on by Orochimaru to collect data. However, despite his numerous experiments, Orochimaru was unable to uncover the secret of Kiyosuk's ability to transform into elements. Unable to find a breakthrough, he eventually had to give up. After a year of research without any useful results, he temporarily shifted his focus to his previous experiments. Sishuk also realized just how extreme this guy's tastes were. While it hasn't reached the point of using humans as test subjects, the experimentation, dissection, and transformation of snakes and other animals into various bizarre shapes is truly unacceptable. Once you're on the battlefield, you'll understand that this is already quite good. Orochimaru said softly. Suddenly, he asked, Kiyosuk-kun, I have a question for you. What do you think a ninja is? What is a ninja? Kiyosuk thought for a moment and said, they are assassins, tools, and victims. Ninjas existed from the beginning for the purpose of war. During the Warring States period, various ninja clans were hired to fight back and forth, no different from tools. Similarly, the villages are the same now, only the number has expanded from ninja clans to ninja villages. Every ninja can be sacrificed, losing their life for a mission. Orochimaru paused, gave Sishuk a deep look, and smiled, saying, your viewpoint is quite interesting, but in a way it's not wrong. In my opinion, a ninja is someone who has mastered all ninjutsu, and therefore, I want to learn all ninjutsu. Wouldn't it be enough to just use shadow clones? As long as there's enough chakra, training time can be easily compressed. The most overpowered training mode in the Naruto world, by using shadow clones, training can be completed extremely quickly, and experience can be accumulated incredibly rapidly. That's right, this has always been my dream. And you, Seishik-kun, what do you want? What is your reason for becoming a ninja? For what? Kiyosuk looked bewildered. He said, just to survive in this cruel world. A good ideal. Orochimaru commented, striving for the continuation of one's own life, very good. I think so too, haha. Then, Kiyosuk-kun, you must train hard and then amaze everyone. Yes. Go collect 100 milliliters of the mixed venom for me. He handed him a test tube and told him to get to work. We were just talking about life and ideals, how come I'm being asked to do chores in the blink of an eye? Pooh. Chapter 8. The Ninja Academy exams were no big deal for Seishik. Under Orochimaru's tutelage, he easily passed the exams, which weren't particularly difficult to begin with, and received his ninja headband, making him extremely happy. He became a Konoha genin. The genin of Konoha are all incredibly powerful, their fights can be devastating. As for the jonin, cough cough, thinking about Kakashi and Guy fighting, let's not even mention it. Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi, as always, was smoking. Opposite him was Orochimaru. He asked, you really don't want to take on a subordinate again? The student Jiraiya took on last time, Minato Namikaze, has become an excellent jonin. He's even learned the second Hokage's Flying Thunder God technique and can use it skillfully. Orochimaru, Jiraiya's student is ultimately his student, and has nothing to do with me. Seishik-kun has decent talent, if he can develop his bloodline limit, becoming an elite jonin shouldn't be a problem, provided he doesn't die on a mission. If we really die, there's nothing we can do. It's too normal for ninjas to die on missions, that's our fate. Hiruzen Sarutobi shook his head. He was a frequent traveler in the martial world, how could he avoid getting cut? Even he, like many others, would die one day. How does he understand the will of fire? He is prepared to sacrifice himself. Orochimaru said, telling his teacher about Kiyosuk's thoughts. This made Hiruzen Sarutobi pause for a moment. Kiyosuk's thoughts were somewhat extreme, similar to those of his disciple. However, considering that Kiyosuk is only 9 years old, let's pick 2 suitable teammates for him. There's also a responsible jonin instructor, hopefully, spending time with him will change him. At least, be more positive, don't have a dark personality like Orochimaru. He's starting to regret letting Kiyosuk stay with his disciple. One is influenced by one's company, and it seems the kid's personality has been affected. Are you really not going to be a jonin instructor? He hoped his disciple would change, but unfortunately, Orochimaru refused again. Sarutobi-sensei, I'm very busy and have no interest in taking care of kids. Seishik-kun isn't someone who needs taking care of, he's mentally an adult. The door closed, and Hiruzen Sarutobi took a few puffs of his cigarette. These brats are all so difficult to deal with. The school rooftop. A middle-aged man with a horse-like face and red eyes stood there with a knife on his back, arms crossed, and a serious expression. I am Ui Shinku, and from today onwards I will be your jonin instructor. Please introduce yourselves. You can tell me what you like, what you dislike, and your hobbies, or of course, you don't have to. Also, you don't need to know how you address me in private, but from now on, you will all call me Shinku-sensei. He's a strict person who gives off a sense of pressure, but Seishik, who's used to Orochimaru, is completely unfazed. Of the 3, Kurane Ui knew her father best. She was the first to speak, my name is Kurane Ui. My favorite food is wasabi octopus, and my least favorite food is cake. My dream is to become an excellent female ninja, and my hobby is arranging flowers with my mother. Yes, she truly is my little darling. Kurane Ui nodded. Asuma, standing to the side, said, I am Sarutobi Asuma. My favorite food is sausage, my least favorite food is asparagus, I like playing shogi, and as for dreams, I don't have any yet. Is it normal to feel lost about the future? Today, Sija was wearing a wide-sleeved short-sleeved shirt and capri pants with leggings. He was much taller than a year ago, and his appearance still showed signs of immaturity, but one could vaguely see that Konoha would have a handsome young man in the future. His expression was neither happy nor sad. He stood up and said calmly, My name is Asakawa Seishuk, I'm 9 years old, I live at number 16, Konoha Onsen Town, I'm unmarried, and I just became a ninja. I enjoy training and usually get home around 6 p.m. I don't smoke or drink, I go to bed at 10 p.m. every night, practice my chakra for 20 minutes before bed, drink a glass of warm milk before bed to promote development, and I get a full 8 hours of sleep every day, never carrying fatigue into the next day. Orochimaru said I'm perfectly normal. Asuma, I didn't quite understand, but it sounded amazing. Hong, when did Asakawa start acting strange? Kurane Ui, this kid's probably a troublesome fellow. And the snake uncle you mentioned, could it be Orochimaru? Although it is known that Kiyosuk trained under Orochimaru, Orochimaru has not officially acknowledged that he has taken Kiyosuk as a disciple, even though many people assume that Kiyosuk is his student. I have a basic understanding of your situation. Alright, your first task is to head to the Konoha training grounds. Yes. ×3. The 3 children followed Kurane Ui to a small river in the Konoha training grounds. With her back to the river, Kurane took out 2 bells. Kiyosuk. Do Genin, Junior Ninja, have no other techniques for the Konoha Jonin exams? Show us your skills. Anyone who doesn't manage to grab a bell won't get lunch, said Ui Makoto. 1 hour time limit, blades are allowed. He took out a clock and set it aside. Start the timer. Asuma and Kurane reacted the fastest, running elsewhere to set traps and wait for the right opportunity, while Seishuk, without saying a word, charged straight in. Kurane Ui, why don't you look at Asuma and Kurane? Is rushing in like this really the fighting style of a ninja? However, in the next instant, Kiyosuk had already closed in, moving with incredible speed. Kurane Ui abandoned her underestimation, only to see Seishuk open his mouth and exhale a scorching flame that filled her entire field of vision. Flame breathing. Flames engulfed her face, and Kurane Ui immediately retreated, forming hand seals, water release, water chaos wave. He spat out a stream of water, which collided with the flames, creating a white mist that sent shurikens and kunao flying out. She deftly dodged, and suddenly felt the temperature around her gradually rising. Flame breathing. Sure enough, another pillar of fire flew out, and the relentless attacks forced him to retreat. Are kids these days really that good? Asuma, I'm not. Kurane Ui, I didn't. Where are they? Kiyosuk noticed that Kurane Ui had disappeared and became puzzled. From his sleeve, a small white snake poked its head out and flicked its tongue in one direction. Is it there? Shadow Serpent Hand. Several venomous snakes darted out from the wide sleeves and rushed in the direction indicated by the little white snake. He peered into the bushes and heard a gasp. Kiyosuk yanked, and a shadow flew toward him. Instinctively, I reached out and caught the shadow. Upon closer inspection, Asuma was being carried in his arms in a princess carry. Kiyosuk. Asuma. This is a bit awkward. They stared at each other, and the atmosphere suddenly became tense. Chapter 9. Asakawa Seishuk stared at Asuma, making her feel awkward. Asuma said, "Let me go." Silently, I removed the venomous snake from his body and tucked it into my sleeve. As long as I'm not embarrassed, then I won't be the one who's embarrassed. Why did you catch me? Ask it, Asakawa Seishik said, pointing at the little white snake. It must be Shinku-sensei who moved behind you. I saved your life. Thank you. Hiss. The little white snake looked in one direction, indicating that there were people there. Given Asuma's example, it was most likely Kurane Ui. Just then, they heard Red scream and fall from the tree. Asuma quickly caught her. Kurane Ui emerged, scolding even her own daughter without hesitation. You underestimate me, Kurane. Don't think that just because I'm your father you can create traps to restrain me. If this continues, none of the three of you will eat. Kurane lowered her head, too ashamed to look up as she was being scolded. Asakawa Seishik said, we must restrict Kurane-sensei's movement, otherwise, she'll be running around everywhere, and we won't even have time to snatch the bell. How do I do it? Asuma asked. You and Hong seal off your retreat. I'll attack. After saying that, he charged forward again, shouting, Shadow Clone Technique. Two shadow clones appeared beside her and began to use their abilities to besiege Kurane Ui. Flame breathing. Musketeers. Kajiro. The scene suddenly became heated. Ui Shinku dodged repeatedly. She wanted to draw her sword but held back. She dodged the attacks, seized the opportunity, and kicked Asakawa Seishik away. With a bang, she disappeared without a trace. It was a shadow clone. They immediately retreated. Asuma and Kurane, who had been waiting for a long time, unleashed a powerful fire release, Great Fireball Technique. A major breakthrough in wind release. The wind fanned the flames, making the fireballs even more intense, and their escape route was blocked. Kurane Ui nodded to herself, letting the fireball strike her directly. Bang! Shadow Clone Technique. TCH. Shadow Clone, Little White, look for it. The little white snake flicked its forked tongue, capturing the scent molecules of the setting sun's crimson hue in the air, and finally chose a direction. Over there, watch this. Flame Vortex. With a swift breath, flames swept across the forest, swirling in the air before transforming into a scorching fire tornado that stood out starkly against the backdrop of the forest. The fire tornado, carrying hot winds, devoured trees, leaving only charred remains. Its destructive power was exceptionally high. A figure flew out. Asuma threw a shuriken, his hands quickly forming hand seals, shuriken shadow clone technique. The shuriken in the air split in two, then into four, then into 8, instantly becoming a dense mass that accurately pierced through Kurane Ui's body. The next moment, however, the target turned into a piece of wood. Are you ready with your stand-in? Earth release, heart-slaying decapitation technique. A hand appeared at Asuma's feet and dragged him into the ground, leaving only his head sticking out. Asakawa Seishik grabbed Kurane's arm and jumped up. Sure enough, another hand reached out, trying to grab them. Kurane Ui emerged from the ground and said, not bad. Hiding behind Asakawa Seishik, Kurane began forming hand seals and said, Asakawa, buy me some time. No. Asakawa Seishik drew his kunao and charged forward, launching a fierce attack. A large hand grabbed his wrist, squeezed it tightly, then released it, and the kunao fell to the ground. The other hand caught it and slid it towards the bell at Ui Shinku's waist. Kurane Ui reacted swiftly, twisting her waist to dodge the attack, only to see Seishik Asakawa twist his arm, trying to break free from her grasp. Does he not want his hand anymore? Thinking to himself that Asakawa Seishik was so ruthless at such a young age, he loosened his grip a little, allowing him to break free. Just as he was about to attack, he suddenly felt a daze and his whole body stiffened. Illusion. He immediately realized it was Hong. Of the three, only his daughter knew how to use illusion magic. He broke through the illusion, but it was too late. A small hand grabbed the bell at his waist and yanked it off. It's our victory, Ms. Shinku. She shook the bell in her hand, which made a crisp, ringing sound. He gave one to Hong and laughed smugly. Not bad. I thought you guys would go hungry. Your teamwork was excellent, and Kurene's illusion was perfectly timed, Kurene commented. Whether the illusion had been cast a little earlier or later, Sishik would have missed his chance. He taught Kurene her genjutsu, and as a ninja skilled in genjutsu, breaking his daughter's genjutsu wasn't difficult. But even in that short time, the bell was still stolen. These three kids are all promising talents. Given time, they will definitely catch up with him and defeat him. Perhaps, this kid named Asakawa Sishik will catch up with him the fastest. Then, Asma will skip a meal. You two come with me, I'll treat you to a big meal. No, as a member of the same team, we share the good times and the bad. I'll stay here with him, Asakawa Sishik said, sitting down. His main concern was that Kurene Ui, like Kakashi later on, might set a trap, so he wanted to demonstrate cooperation. Dad, no, Ms. Shinkatsu, I want to stay too. Since Asuma chose to stay after Sishik Asakawa did, she was deeply moved. You two truly are my comrades, Sishik. We really are best friends. Well. Kurene Ui nodded, satisfied, and said, you all have great teamwork skills, which I'm very pleased with. To reward you, I'll forego this big meal, the three of you won't eat. Also, tomorrow morning, wait for me in front of the Hokage building to receive our first mission. That's all. After saying that, he vanished in an instant. The three people. Asakawa Sishik said to Hong speechlessly, I can't believe your dad, who seems like such an honest and reliable person, would make a joke like that. I don't know either. My usually stern dad has this side to him? Humph, I'll tell mom when I get home that dad didn't give me any food. Can you let me out first? I'll treat you to a big meal later, let's go eat barbecue together. But dad said. Asakawa Sishik started digging. You actually believed that was a joke? Kurene, don't be so naive. Let me tell you a lesson, a man's words are deceitful. Yes, my dad often fools my mom at home. Asma nodded in agreement, then suddenly added, of course, I'm a good man, I would never lie to a girl. Tui. Kiyosuke, don't get dirt in my mouth, it's filthy. Oh, sorry, I did it subconsciously. I think you're just lusting after her body. Her pregnancy is a done deal, what's so interesting about that? What can you do at such a young age? As expected of someone from 3 generations, certain traits are etched into their DNA and passed down to the next generation. Chapter 10. The daily routine of a genin consists of things like scavenging for trash, taking care of children, doing farm work, and looking for pets. As a newbie just starting out, I mostly receive D-level missions. Finally, when he received his 10th D-rank mission, Konoha's second son refused to accept it. No. I don't want to take on these boring missions anymore. Asuma jumped up and down in the mission hall of the Hokage building, almost throwing a tantrum, crying, screaming, and threatening suicide. Seeing this, Kurene Ui was quite helpless, while Kurene and Sishik Asakawa secretly gave each other a thumbs up. They also felt that the daily routine of scavenging wasn't what they wanted, the life of a ninja should be more exciting, what was so peaceful about it? You're just genin who haven't been out of school for long. It's not suitable for you to take on higher level missions right now. Ui Shinku knew that the children were impetuous, so she spoke up to stop them. Hiruzen Sarutobi met his son's stubborn gaze, knowing he was just throwing a tantrum. A pang of guilt struck him, as Hokage, his priority was the village, and he couldn't spend as much time with his family. He sighed and said, given your excellent performance on your previous missions, I'll make an exception and give you a C-rank mission this time. The three cheered. Hiruzen Sarutobi opened a C-rank mission scroll, picked one that could train the kids, and said, there's a group of bandits on Mount Tsukumien, 25 kilometers southeast of Konoha. They've kidnapped the employer's son. The mission is to wipe them out and rescue the hostage. How about it? Want to take it? To wipe them all out, leaving no one alive? This is really a task that suits them well. Shinko looked at her three subordinates and said, I'll take this mission. Yosh! Finally, a more exciting mission. Asuma jumped up excitedly, Kurane was also looking forward to it, and Asakawa Seishik frowned for a moment, then relaxed, as if he had convinced himself. Taking in the expressions of the three little ones, Hiruzen Sarutobi nodded and watched the four of them leave the mission hall. With their equipment packed and ready, Shinko led the three to their destination. On the way, he told the three men, this band of bandits numbers between 50 and 70, possibly even more. Our employer wants us to wipe them all out, so we can't let a single one escape, and we must ensure the hostages are not harmed. Asakawa Seishik asked, what does the hostage look like? Shinko produced a portrait of a young boy, who appeared to be about their age. Remember his appearance. Make sure he's not harmed. After successfully rescuing him, don't let any of the bandits escape, wipe them all out. That's the mission. A group of lives for a C-rank mission. Asakawa Seishik shook his head, thinking to himself that human life was worthless. However, he also knew that this was the way of the world, and becoming a ninja meant being prepared to take the lives of others for a mission. It was just for the mission. The four traveled quickly and arrived at their destination in the afternoon. After learning about the situation from their employer, they headed towards Mount Sumian. As dusk fell, they hid in the trees, watching the bandits below gather together, chatting, drinking, and eating meat, living a carefree and happy life. The four of them hid, eating bitter soldiers' rations. Kurane said, I won't intervene this time unless your lives are in danger. Seishik will devise the plan. Remember, the mission is to annihilate them all, understand? Yes. The setting sun's crimson color fades away. Asakawa Seishik said, in that case, I'll go and take out the bandit leader. Asuma, you and Kurane sneak over to the hostages and rescue them. Then, I'll disguise myself as the bandit leader and gather all the bandits. You two come back as fast as you can and we'll take care of those guys together. I object. I'll take care of the bandit leader. Asuma raised his hand. Really? Then I'll go with Kurane. The voice trailed off. Kurane nodded and said, I have no objection. She's a genjutsu type ninja, direct combat isn't her forte. Asuma glanced at Red and suddenly said, I'll go with Red to rescue the hostages. You go, and remember to be quick. TCH, I know, we'll make our move after dark. Good. As night fell, the three split up. The bandits lived in a mountain stronghold and were undisciplined, so it was not difficult for the three ninjas to infiltrate, in fact, it was a piece of cake. Under the cover of night, the three captured a bandit. Hong immediately used illusion magic to control the bandit and obtained the location of the hostage and the bandit leader. Then, Asakawa Seishik took out a kunao, covered the bandit's mouth, and slit his throat. Hey, Seishik, you! Asuma's face paled, and Asakawa Seishik's face was also pale, and he felt nauseous. He said, we have to learn this. Didn't the Hokage give us this mission so we could shed blood? Otherwise, why would we be given this mission among so many C-rank missions? You should have realized what Shinku-sensei meant by entrusting everything to us along the way. As ninjas, killing is commonplace, they have to learn it sooner or later. The third Hokage wanted to hone them, and only through the baptism of blood and fire could they unleash their dazzling brilliance. I know, but... Asuma said, head bowed, but even so. We are ninjas. Asakawa Seishik stood up, his face still pale, dragged the body to a clump of grass, and whispered, don't forget the rules of the ninja. The mission comes first. Red and Asuma stood up, still trembling, but quickly composed themselves and said, we'll leave that to you. Then, they disappeared into the night. Asakawa Seshik let out a sigh of relief as nausea returned. He fought it off, forcing his trembling legs to keep going, and tried to encourage himself, honestly, I can't be worse than 2 kids. But I recovered so quickly, worthy of a ninja. It's something we have to do. Once we've chosen this path, we can't regret it. He gritted his teeth, slapped himself, readjusted his mind, and began to approach the wooden house where the bandit leader was. This guy's place is easy to find, it's the best one in the whole mountain stronghold. The only 2-story log cabin. Approaching the wooden house silently, I heard laughter and joking coming from inside. I secretly moved a tile aside and looked down. I saw a bald man with his arm around a woman in her 30s who had a good figure but was of average appearance. They were drinking and eating, and he was also flirting with the woman in his arms. Little White, go, bite them to death. The small white snake on his wrist crawled onto the roof and silently entered the room. While the 2 people inside were still laughing, it bit the bandit leader's foot. Having drunk too much, the slow-witted bandit leader was completely oblivious to the pain and continued to grope the woman, unaware that death was imminent. Chapter 11. He, you're so much prettier than my old hag at home. The bandit leader, slurring his drink, embraced the woman. Oh dear, how annoying, the woman exclaimed coquettishly, but I abandoned my family to be with you. Ha ha ha, even the sick ghost in your house can't satisfy you, right? Let me. Ouch, what is that? The bandit leader felt a pain on the back of his foot, like being bitten by a mosquito, but he didn't pay attention to it. Anyway, he had thick skin. The woman also felt pain in her ankle. She looked down and saw that a white snake tail had disappeared. Snake, the woman exclaimed, jumping to her feet. She then felt dizzy. The bandit leader pulled her into his arms. Hey, what's wrong with you? Next, he felt weak, lost feeling in one leg, and tried to speak but couldn't open his mouth or feel its presence. The 2 men foamed at the mouth, their bodies convulsing as they collapsed. The little white snake poked its head out, flicking its tongue, quite satisfied with their fate. Seeing this, Asakawa Seshik climbed down from the roof and entered the room. He checked their pulses, they were gone. He said softly, don't blame me. I'm a ninja, just doing this for a mission. He dragged their bodies onto the bed, covered them with a quilt, and transformed himself into the bandit leader. He pinched his throat, changed his voice, finally settling on a tone that sounded like the bandit leader's. He coughed once, then stepped outside, cursing, where are they? Where are they? Where have they all gone? Get them all here. With his roar, lights flickered on in the mountain stronghold, and some bandits, wearing only trousers and carrying knives, ran out of the rooms, asking, Boss, what's going on? Who are you going to kill? Call everyone over, there's a big deal coming. The men's eyes lit up, and one of them asked, Boss, what kind of big deal? This is a huge deal that could make us starve. Call all the brothers in the stronghold over. I have something to say, if this deal goes through, none of us will have to worry about making a living anymore. That's great. That's great. We'll go get help right away. The bandits immediately went down to fetch reinforcements. Just then, a figure landed beside him, it was Asuma. He said, the person has been rescued. Red is taking care of her. The bandit leader is dead. He's been poisoned. Asakawa Seshik said softly. Asuma paused for a moment, then said, I understand. Let's wait for them to arrive. Okay, you hide and block their escape route. Good. With a flash, he disappeared. Soon after, about 50 or 60 bandits gathered. One of them said gruffly, Boss, what do we do now that the kid we caught has escaped? Before Asakawa Seshik could speak, a henchman shouted, Don't worry about him, what's he worth? The boss said that after this job, we won't have to worry about the future. By the way, boss, what big deal are we going to do? Asakawa Seshik said, a huge, very big deal. Is everyone here? Well, 3 brothers are missing. 2 were watching over that kid, they probably went after him. The third one's nowhere to be found. The 2 who were estimated to have been killed by Asuma and his group, as for the remaining one, he killed him himself. He nodded, raised his hand, and said, okay, let's get started. With that, he jumped onto the rooftop. Make a move? What do you mean, make a move? Boss, what are you doing? The bandits were confused when a voice suddenly rang out. Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique. A shower of shurikens rained down from the sky. Ouch! That hurts. Boss, what's going on? No. This is a ninja attack. Someone hired ninjas to kill us. No. I don't want to die. Ninja masters, please let me go. The bandits tried to escape, but with shurikens raining down from the sky, where could they possibly run? Some were lucky enough to be stabbed in places like the arm, which weren't fatal, others were unlucky and were stabbed in the heart or head, dying instantly. Asakawa Seshik reverted to his original form, his entire body engulfed in flames, flame breath. The flames set the bandits ablaze, and ignited their stronghold. It became the only light in the mountains during the darkness. Ouch! It's burning hot. No. I don't want to die. Ouch! That hurts. The mountain stronghold was engulfed in flames by Asakawa Seshik and Asuma's attack. They didn't let a single bandit escape. Mission accomplished. The air was thick with the smell of burning, making them both frown. Suppressing their nausea, Ui Makoto came up behind them and said, you have to get used to it. That's how ninjas are, it's either you kill me or I kill you. Any mission must be completed, there's no room for negotiation. I knew it. From the moment I became a ninja, I was prepared for this, Asakawa Seshik said, coughing. Me too, how about the hostages in red? They've been safely transferred and are being escorted by Kurane to their employer at the foot of the mountain. Kurane should be back soon. You've done a great job on this mission. Kurane was very satisfied with the 3 of them's performance. I think I should stick to D-rank missions next time. I just can't handle taking on these kinds of missions every time, Asuma said, shaking his head. My dad's ruthless, this mission has turned out to be this complicated. Kurane Ui said, not every C-rank mission is like this. Of course, you're still genin now, so you'll mostly be taking on D-rank missions. As for C-rank missions, they don't come every time. Alright, I'll treat you all to a good meal when we get back. I'm off now. I want to go back and rest, I don't have much of an appetite. Me too. Seeing the 2 of them like this, Uimaku smiled and said, then let's just forget about it. We still have to adapt. He's still so young. He believed that the 3 of them would become excellent ninjas. The 4 returned to Konoha, but instead of celebrating with a big meal, they went home to rest, and for several days they had little appetite. Let me tell you, Kiyosuke, I've been having nightmares for days, and my mom is so worried about me. Asuma said as the 4 of them huddled together, ready to receive their missions again. Oh, I recovered the day before yesterday. A child with a mother is like a treasure, but this one without a mother is just a weed, and he still has to go do experiments with Uncle Snake. These past few days, besides cultivating, he's been going to Snake Uncle's place to check in and do experiments, helping out by handing him scissors, scalpels, and the like. Snake Uncle would say things he couldn't understand on a whim, but he just listened. How much he understood depended entirely on his own comprehension. Snake's experiments haven't been transferred to humans yet, but they're still a bit graphic. He got used to them after a while and stepped out of the shadows. Snake, Mastering Core Technology. Chapter 12. Hey? Another C-rank mission? It's not going to be another bandit killing mission, is it? Ui Shinku accepted a C-rank mission, which made the three of them highly suspicious that it was another mission that would involve bloodshed. No, this is an escort mission. We've been hired by a wealthy merchant from the Land of Fire. He wants us to escort him to the Land of Hot Water and back. They're covering our food, lodging, and other necessities. Our job is to ensure his safety. Besides us, another team has also taken on this mission and will be working with us. This isn't a dangerous mission, it's a good opportunity for these little guys to relax. The Land of Hot Springs, I've heard that its hot springs are a specialty. Konoha does have hot springs, but I'd also like to try hot springs from other countries. Speaking of which, Kiyosuke, isn't your home in the hot spring town? Right, although it's in the hot spring town, I rarely go there. After all, I have a hot spring at home, Kiyosuke said. He actually wanted to turn his house into a public bathhouse, but he's still too young to do so. Besides, the hot spring isn't very big, and it's just so after a while. It's nice that he doesn't have to fill the tub with water every night. You have a hot spring at home? No wonder your skin is so good, Hong said enviously. Kiyosuke has great skin, which even she, a girl, envied. It's nothing, it's natural. It definitely wasn't from soaking in hot springs. At that moment, Kurenei coughed, interrupting their conversation, and said, "Go home and pack your things. Take a change of clothes and necessary ninja tools. Don't bring anything else. Travel light. Meet at the entrance in half an hour, our team will be waiting for us there." Yes. The three of them immediately ran home to prepare a change of clothes. Kiyosuke packed some changes of clothes and a novel to pass the time on the road, slung his backpack over his shoulder, and left home. He also sent a snake with a note to Orochimaru, saying that he was on a mission and wouldn't be able to come for the next few days. To be honest, although Snake is cold and aloof, he's not that difficult to approach. He's just not very talkative, well, I mean him right now. Who knows what will happen in the future? Konoha main gate. Kiyosuke arrived early, where Ui Shinku was already waiting. She was placed in a palanquin, next to a plump, seemingly kind-looking middle-aged man. Beside the middle-aged man was a handsome blonde-haired, blue-eyed man talking to him. Wearing a green ninja vest over a blue bodysuit, with a sunny smile, he gives off a very friendly vibe. He's a warm-hearted guy. Her looks are no less than mine. Kiyosuke glanced at it, and was so certain. Teacher Shinku. He greeted her and came to her side. Mr. Ui, is this your subordinate? You're here early, the warm-hearted man said, his voice carrying the distinct scent of Yoshikage Kira. It sounded a bit lewd, and although Sishik knew who this man was, he couldn't help but think of that famous scene. Boki, it's a bit vulgar to say. You guys shouldn't confuse voice actors with characters. JPG. Cough cough. Fortunately, Minato Namikaze was a Konoha ninja who wanted to become Hokage, not an office worker who longed for a peaceful life. He's all right. This is Minato Namikaze, the instructor of Class 7. He's a reliable person. Minato, this is my subordinate, Sishik Asakawa. Hello, Mr. Minato. Hello, Kiyosuke-kun. Minato greeted him with a smile, his smile gentle and impeccable, truly worthy of being the future 4th Hokage, the yellow flash of Konoha. Sishik and Obito are classmates, right? You two can have a good chat later. Hopefully he won't be late. After all, Obito was a prodigy who was late for class 7 times a week, 6 days a week. Hearing this, Minato smiled wryly. Obito was a very hard-working child. Although he was from the Uchiha clan, his personality was completely unlike that of a typical Uchiha. He was cheerful, optimistic, and helpful. But his only flaw was that he was often late. That's hard to say, but I'm just going home to get something, I shouldn't be late. That's hard to say. Minato was also helpless. At that moment, a figure landed. It was a silver-haired youth carrying a short sword on his back, wearing a black bodysuit, with iron armor protecting his arms. His face was covered by a mask, as if he were ashamed to be seen, revealing only a pair of dead fish eyes. Kakashi Hatake, the genius of Konoha. Minato-sensei. Young Kakashi's voice was flat and indifferent, carrying a coldness that kept people at a distance. That's quite normal. His father, Sakumo Hatake, was scorned by the villagers for failing a mission and committed suicide in despair. Witnessing his father's tragic end caused great trauma to Kakashi's young mind. He only stayed at the Ninja Academy for a year before applying to graduate and becoming a chunin the following year. Kakashi, you're here early. This is your former classmate, Seishuk. Yo, Kakashi. Now he's expressionless, tomorrow he'll be a complete goofball. Therefore, Kai is awesome. Only he could have raised Kakashi to that level. Kakashi politely nodded in response to Seishuk's greeting, standing quietly beside Minato, which was quite awkward. Minato smiled wryly, leading this team is tough. Soon after, Asuma, Kurane, and Rin Nohara, the only girl in Minato's team, also arrived at the entrance. With Rin's appearance, Minato finally felt less awkward. After all, Kakashi was aloof and hadn't been at the school for long, so it was normal that he wasn't familiar with Seishuk and the others. Lin is different. They graduated together and have a good relationship. I've heard Lin say that she, Obito, and Seishuk get along quite well. Well, Obito gets bullied occasionally. That guy was late again, just like always. Kakashi said, clearly annoyed. Since a time has been set, it must be followed. People like Obito really annoy him. Haha, Obito's still the same as ever. Yes, Lin, didn't you call him? Kiyosuk asked with a smile. I called him when I left home, and he said he'd be right there and told me to go ahead, Lin said apologetically. So this guy probably encountered another elderly person in need of help on the road. On the other side, since the agreed time had passed, Minato had already started explaining to his employer, Mr. Kazama, and kept apologizing. Mr. Kazama was a businessman who always kept his promises and was very unhappy about this, but since he thought about needing them to protect him on the way, he didn't say anything. Minato was also helpless, hoping that Obito wouldn't be too late, otherwise, this C-rank mission would probably be ruined. He didn't care about the reward, but it was really unacceptable to lose the task because he was late. Chapter 13. The main characters always appear last. Obito firmly believed in this statement, but he absolutely did not want to appear last, as that would be anything but a protagonist. On the way, they encountered an elderly man who had fallen, so they took him to Konoha Hospital, called for doctors and nurses, and then rushed to the main gate of Konoha. Sure enough, Kakashi, that annoying guy, looked at him with a face full of impatience. Who are you trying to impress with that sour face all day? He really wanted to yell at them because he was late. Minato-sensei looked at himself with a puzzled expression. Seishuk and Asuma were also there. Sorry, Minato-sensei, I'm late. It's alright, just don't do it again next time. We're on a mission, nothing else. Being late is something you can never do again. Minato sighed and apologized to Mr. Kazama. After all, it was his fault for not disciplining his subordinates properly. Yes, Mr. Minato. With Obito's arrival, both groups were complete. Kazama-sensei sat in the palanquin, which was carried by special people, and the group officially embarked on their journey to the land of hot springs. By the way, Obito, is this your first time leaving Konoha? Seishuk asked the enthusiastic Obito on the way. Of course, this is the first time I've ever left Konoha, Obito said excitedly. I want to see scenery different from Konoha. Hey, this cheerful boy and the villain who wants to destroy the world are not the same person at all. That's true. We can't leave Konoha without a reason unless we're on missions. It's really exciting to be on this kind of mission for the first time, Rin said, leaning closer. Is this your first time out? No. Kiyosuk recalled the unpleasant memories and said, let's not talk about it anymore. I still vividly remember the last mission, I don't want to talk about it. Obito blinked, sensing the conversation was getting heavy, so he changed the subject. Is there anything we need to be careful about for this mission, Mr. Minato? Minato said, generally speaking, escort missions aren't very dangerous. Just ensure the employer's safety. Of course, you still need to be careful of bandits and such along the way. The three bandits, Kiyosuk and his companions, didn't look too pleased when the topic of bandits came up. Kakashi noticed the expressions on their faces and asked, what's wrong with you three? Was the mission outside the village last time related to bandits? I don't want to talk about this. Me too. Sorry, Kakashi, we don't want to talk about this. After all, it was the first time he had killed someone, that memory can never be erased. Kurane Yui glanced at her subordinates, shook her head, and said, they're still just kids. Minato arrived around this time and could roughly guess what was going on, so he steered the conversation elsewhere. The Land of Hot Water is located northeast of the Land of Fire, and it's famous for its beautiful natural scenery. But doesn't the Land of Hot Water also have ninja villages? Won't they cause trouble for us if we go there like this? Obito asked. The Second Shinobi World War had only just ended, and relations between the various countries were still somewhat tense. Minato explained, don't worry, the Land of Hot Springs and the Land of Fire have always maintained a good cooperative relationship, and besides, Hot Springs Village is no longer what it used to be after the Second Shinobi World War. During the Second Shinobi World War, Yugakure suffered heavy losses and never regained its former glory. Besides, with two jonin like Minato and Shinku there, there's nothing to worry about, Kakashi said. Instead of worrying about that, you should worry about being late again when we leave. Damn it! That was just an accident. There aren't any old men or women I know in the Land of Hot Springs, she exclaimed, jumping up and down in a rustic manner. The initially serious topic gradually shifted towards what to buy to take back from the Land of Hot Springs. Soon after, they entered a town. Mr. Kazama took away the goods he had left there, and his mode of transportation changed from walking to riding in a horse-drawn carriage. Looking at the convoy behind them, carrying goods of all sizes, it's no wonder they needed 2 ninja squads to escort them. However, why they didn't send Chunin to escort them remains a mystery. To protect the convoy, the 2 supervising teachers divided the work. The Watergate team was responsible for the first half of the convoy, scouting the way and protecting the employer. The Crimson Squad is responsible for the latter half, guarding against ambushes and protecting the cargo. The same applies to Night Watch. 2 teams take turns on watch, one for the first half of the night and the other for the second half. These arrangements change daily on a rotating basis. Sitting on a horse-drawn cart laden with goods, looking at the deep ruts in the mud, Kiyosuk was somewhat interested in the cargo being transported. Wanting to find out more, she was stopped by Yui Makoto. It's not allowed to pry into your employer's secrets, understand? Don't do it again. Yes. What the employer sells is irrelevant to them, as long as the task is completed, that's all that matters. I'll go patrol the back. Kiyosuk obediently ran to the back. Although this was just a simple escort mission, it didn't mean there were no dangers. Wild beasts on the road, bandits who might suddenly jump out, were all potential enemies. Suddenly, a small white snake poked its head out from the sleeve, pointing in one direction and flicking its tongue. Judging from this, there must be an enemy. Stop right there! A group of bandits suddenly jumped out. They were fierce-looking, with broad shoulders and thick waists. They could carry a horse on their shoulders and a person on their fists. They were obviously very good fighters. Robbery. Hand over all your belongings, and we'll spare your lives. The leader's voice was gruff, and the machete in his hand gleamed coldly in the sunlight. Mountain bandits. Without a word, Kiyosuk rushed out and kicked the man in the face, breaking all his teeth and sending blood and saliva flying. Big brother! What are you doing? Big brother! Big brother, how could you lose? Bandit leader, I got up, but I was instantly killed. What's there to say? Several bandits shouted, picked up their leader, and ran away, as if they were doing something ridiculous. Well, let's keep going. It was just a minor incident, nothing to worry about. The convoy moved forward slowly, the group of people not in a hurry, taking their time. What seemed like an uneventful trip turned into a sudden appearance by another group of people. This group was not the same as the bandits from before. They all carried katana, and although they looked unkempt, their aura was far more ferocious than that of the bandits, and they reeked of blood. These are a group of wandering samurai. These are what are known as Ronin. They had their eyes on the convoy and on Mr. Kazama's money. They had followed it all the way and decided to strike in the middle of nowhere, intending to kill the entire group so they could sell the convoy's goods and make a profit. After all, they were wandering samurai without anyone to support them. Chapter 14. With the emergence of ninja villages, samurai gradually faded from the historical stage. Originally serving as an army, they were replaced by ninjas, who could also serve as an army. Apart from some large countries and nobles who still maintained some samurai, only the Land of Iron was a country ruled by samurai. The replacement of samurai in the military by ninjas resulted in many samurai losing their source of income, which is why many samurai had a negative impression of ninjas. Originally, during the Warring States period, ninjas could only be hired, not used as soldiers. States and nobles would still recruit a large number of samurai to serve as soldiers, conquering cities and expanding their territories. Later, with the establishment of ninja villages, the status of samurai was gradually replaced by ninjas, and in recent years, the status of samurai has become increasingly low. The Ronin blocking their way were also down on their luck samurai. The leading samurai had long hair tied in a ponytail, a scar on the left side of his face, wore a dark robe, and carried a katana and a wakaizushi. He said coldly, "Leave the goods, and you can leave." Minato stepped forward and said, "We are Konoha ninjas, here specifically to escort this shipment. Please don't make things difficult for us." The samurai leader sneered, saying, "None of my business. They're just Konoha ninjas. I've killed Konoha ninjas before, they're nothing but a bunch of chickens and dogs." His convoy was surrounded by men, each holding a knife and with a ferocious expression. The convoy staff hid in fear, and it was at this moment that the ninjas were needed. Kurenai said, "They make the first move, then we'll make ours. Should we kill them?" Kiyosuk asked. "Try not to. If you can't control yourself, it's okay to kill them. No. If you're going to be in this business, you have to be prepared to get taken down." This group of 25 people all looked like troublemakers. "Hold the kunai firmly, ready for battle at any moment." Minato took a step back and said, "Then there's nothing to discuss. What do you say? Let's do it." The samurai leader gave a low shout and drew his long sword. At his command, the samurai also drew their swords and slashed at the crowd. Bite! Sparks flew as the kunai clashed with the katana. Seishik was knocked back by the force of the impact, his current strength was too weak to contend with an adult samurai. Humph! Once ninjas are engaged in close combat, they're no match for us samurai. You bunch of cowardly thugs, all you know how to do is use underhanded tricks, you're a complete waste. Shadow Serpent Hand. Kiyosuk waved his hand, and several snakes lunged at the samurai. The samurai swung his sword, beheading the snakes, and then brought his sword down on Kiyosuk's head. Bang! With a single stroke, Kiyosuk cleaved a wooden stake in two, then flashed behind the samurai, a kunai piercing his heart. Ugh! You! Feeling the pain, the samurai's body slumped to the ground. Kiyosuk took a deep breath and turned to look at the other samurai. Ui Shinku defeated several, and he stood there as the ninjas he encountered fell one by one, clutching their heads and howling in terror, as if they had seen something horrible. Illusions are terrifying. Illusionist ninjas are terrifying. He dodged the long sword slashing from behind and delivered a spinning kick to the attacker's stomach. Flames condensed in his hands, and he unleashed them in that direction. Flamethrower. The man, whose entire body was ablaze, rolled around on the ground in agony, screaming in pain. He looked at Asuma and realized that he didn't need to be involved. As the son of the third Hokage, Asuma had a strong family background in ninjutsu and possessed a considerable number of techniques. Apart from lacking practical experience, he was quite capable. Like her father, Kurane is a genjutsu-type ninja. Standing there, all the samurai she encounters are knocked down by her genjutsu. As for Minato's team, Kakashi single-handedly took down most of the samurai. Obito and Rin dealt with the remaining few, and as for Minato, he had already pressed his specially made kunai against the samurai leader's throat. It only took the blink of an eye. How could that be? The samurai leader, his sword half drawn, was sweating profusely. He hadn't even seen his opponent's movements clearly, and had been defeated so easily, a humiliating defeat. You lost. All your men lost too. Are you a Jonin team from Konoha? No comment. Minato knocked out the samurai leader, and the raid came to an end. There were no casualties on the convoy's side. Kazama-sensei instructed Minato and the others to tie up the survivors and bury the dead on the spot. Incidentally, more than a dozen people died, 10 of whom were killed by Kakashi. Despite being about the same age as Kiyosuk and the others, he is more ruthless than anyone else, and all his opponents are killed with a single blow. The Hotaki family's swordsmanship is among the best in Konoha. Back in the day, Sakumo Hotaki, wielding only a short sword, slaughtered his way from Konoha to Tsunagakure without batting an eye. The Konoha Slayer King was invincible. Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law were both hacked to death on the spot. They killed so many that the village of Tsunagakure was terrified, to the point that even children stopped crying. That's how terrifying they were. It's a pity that such a powerful figure didn't die on the battlefield, but instead died in a village, which is truly regrettable. The loss of a cage-level fighter in Konoha nearly made the other 4 major ninja villages laugh their heads off. I heard that the third Kazekage next door, who was living a frugal life, specially added 3 dishes and a soup to his dinner. Border town of the land of hot water. With the end of the Second Shinobi World War, trade flourished again. The daimyo of the land of hot springs died of illness after the war, and a new daimyo succeeded him. Instead of focusing on Hot Spring Village, he concentrated on developing the unique scenery of the land of hot springs to attract tourists and wealthy merchants, transforming the country into a major tourist destination and starting to make money. With continuous cuts to funding, Yugakure village began to decline, losing its former glory. The border towns of the land of hot water are mostly trading towns, with a large number of merchants doing business here, as well as wealthy nobles who come to travel, making the towns noisy and prosperous. The scenery here is also quite nice, and it also has the unique hot springs of the land of hot springs. This mission is not only to escort Mr. Kazama here, but also to escort him back after he finishes his business. So, while he is doing his business, Seishuk and the other kids can move around freely. As for Mr. Kazama's safety, it is entrusted to Minato and Kurane. Although it was against the rules, Minato and Kurane Ui agreed that it would be best to let the children relax and enjoy the natural scenery of the land of hot springs after their long journey. So, they gave the 6 of them a few days off, as long as they didn't cause trouble, stayed away from the 3 ninja taboos, and remembered to go back to the inn where they were staying at night to rest. This is a holiday for the kids. How they spend their time is up to them. A balance between work and rest is the best choice. Chapter 15. In the hot spring, Seishuk, Asuma, Obito, and Kakashi, with towels on their heads, soaked in the water. Obito lazily let out a sigh of relief. Ah, this is so comfortable. Compared to Konoha, the hot springs in the land of hot springs are definitely much more relaxing. Wisps of steam rose from the hot spring, creating a hazy, dreamlike mist. The four of them soaked in the spring. Seishuk looked at Kakashi, whose face was wrapped in a towel, and asked, "Kakashi, why are you covering your face while soaking in a hot spring?" He was very curious about Kakashi's face. He knew he was handsome, but he didn't really know just how handsome the real-life version would be. Obito chuckled, "You don't happen to have buck teeth or thick lips, do you? Something you can't show your face to, haha. Boring." He stared at Obito with dead fish eyes, but he still took off the hot towel wrapped around his face, not for any other reason than that he felt hot. Behind the hot towel is a handsome face, he's definitely going to be a heartthrob. He has a beauty mark diagonally below his mouth and a cool expression. He'd probably be even more handsome if he smiled. "It's a lie, isn't it?" Obito screamed, "You must have used a transformation jutsu. You can't possibly be this handsome." "Yeah, he's really handsome, almost as handsome as me," Seija said, stroking his chin. "I'm so good looking, only Kakashi in Konoha can compare to me." "Humph. Still not as handsome as me." Obito faced reality, but he was still stubborn and refused to admit defeat. "Luckily, this guy wears a mask all the time, otherwise, I would have been utterly defeated in front of Rin." Asuma nodded in agreement, "You're almost catching up to me." "No. You Sarutobi clan members all have very mature-looking faces. Don't be so clueless. When you grow a beard, the Sarutobi clan's genes will really show." Seishuk and Obito stared at him. Asuma, feeling their gazes, blushed and said, "What kind of looks are those? What do you mean by that? It's pointless. I just think you're shameless." Obito said with a laugh. "UBD. You're shameless too." Asuma lunged at Obito, and the two began to wrestle in the hot spring. Seishuk and Kakashi quietly moved to the side, watching the two of them fool around. Suddenly, Kakashi asked, "Asakawa, the fire release you used earlier was released from your hands. Was it a special ninjutsu?" He was very interested in Seishuk's method of releasing fire release with his hands. "You mean this? It's a family bloodline limit that hasn't awakened for many generations, but it suddenly awakened in me. It allows my body to turn into flames, similar to the water transformation technique of the Hojiki clan in Kirigakure." He raised one hand, which was engulfed in flames. Fortunately, the devil fruit was localized and didn't have the curse of the sea, otherwise, he could have drowned himself just by taking a bath at home. If word got out that he drowned himself in a bath at home, his reputation would be completely ruined. There are bloodline limits like this? That's really strange. Kakashi realized he had gone a bit too far with his question, so he nodded and said, "That's enough." Meanwhile, Asuma and Obito started splashing water on each other, drenching the two people next to them. Seishuk threw off his towel and joined the fray, yelling, "You two are asking for it. Innocent." Kakashi shook his head, feeling that this place was not suitable for him, and decided to go ashore. Before he could climb ashore, Obito pulled him down, and the four of them started making a ruckus. After playing around for a while, the four of them stopped. Obito and Asuma sneakily approached the partition next door, where the women's bath was located, which was also where Kurane and Rin bathed. "Kakashi. Kiyosuke. What's so interesting about a little girl who's all set in stone? There aren't any pretty older sisters next door. So, a kid is a kid, and it won't be worth watching until at least 10, no, 5 years later. Aren't you going?" Kakashi asked, looking at Seishuk. "Who do you take me for? Do you think I'd be like those two scoundrels?" Kiyosuke exclaimed indignantly, pointing at Obito and Asuma. I've never seen such shameless people. And now there are two of them. At this moment, he is a giant. Oh, you're much more noble than them. Kakashi thought it was rare to have such a normal classmate. Kiyosuke said seriously, of course. While Hong and Lin are cute, their figures aren't great, so there's no point in spying on them now. Kakashi. Can I take back what I just said? You're the abnormal one. After playing around for a while, they got up and prepared to stroll around the streets. After changing my clothes, I strolled around the streets feeling completely relaxed. Obito and Asuma, two sycophants, followed the two girls around like little lambs. Kakashi slipped away alone, while Sishik used his transformation jutsu to enter a gambling den. As the saying goes, a man can't get rich without windfall gains, and a horse can't get fat without night grazing. He's been spending all the money he earns from missions on ninja tools, like explosive tags, which are such a waste of money. Plus, they don't earn much from D-rank missions. Now, we need to find a way to make some money off him. As soon as I entered the gambling den, I saw a group of people gathered around one table. The entire gambling den consisted of only that one table. A group of people are betting against one person. It wasn't one person who dominated, but rather a group of people who made a fortune. The legendary fat sheep. Big in every sense of the word. Good heavens! I subconsciously touched my nose. It wasn't as bad as I thought, but it felt a little itchy. Had my body reached puberty already? I'm betting big this time. The blonde girl with twin ponytails slammed her hand on the table, deposited the money, and a surge of emotion erupted. Is it really that bouncy and chewy? We're betting on small. Everyone bet together. This is a legendary fat sheep. If you don't slaughter it, you'll regret it. You won't get another chance like this. Small. The fat sheep, unwilling to give up, continued betting, again. Beside her, a little girl said pitifully, Lady Tsunade, we really can't lose again. It's all right. Mute, I'm sure I can turn this around. You have to believe me. Tsunade had one of the three great illusions of life, I can turn this around. I'm betting on small this time. Seeing this, Kiyosuke took out his last savings from his mission's 50,000 taels. Count me in. I'm betting on big. That's really generous. Haha. We're betting on big too. For no other reason than this guy's generous. That's right. Bet on big. Open. Big. Double your principal, bet it all again. Finally, the fat sheep is no longer fat, but Kiyosuke's wallet is fat. Looking at my bulging wallet, is this what it feels like to be rich? Big fat sheep ran out of money, and everyone returned to the initial situation, fighting their own battles. Kiyosuke, seeing that he had gained an advantage, decided to quit and made his escape. He had just passed an alleyway when a merciless iron hand pulled him inside. Wah-ah-ah! Help! Someone is kidnapping a handsome young boy in broad daylight. Chapter 16. Bang! It hurts, doesn't it? A fist punched him on the head, raising a red bump. The transformation spell was also cancelled by the blow. Sishik rubbed his head, squatted on the ground.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना?